Hi, hello, and welcome back to F1 Challenge Career Mode. My name is Mephisto, and today we're heading off to Australia for the opening round of the 2000 Formula One season. A few weeks ago, I asked you guys to vote for the team we will be driving for in this season. And I also said that if there would be two teams with the same number of votes, then I would be driving for the team with the least amount of points in the season. We had two candidates, McLaren and Jaguar. So, based on the points scored by these two teams during the 2000 season, I will be driving for Jaguar, which should be interesting. Anyway, let's get started.
Just before the free practice session begins, let's take a quick look at the Drivers' Championship. Mika Hakkinen starts the season determined to add a third World Drivers' title to his trophy cabinet. With back-to-back Drivers' Championships under his belt, Mika looks more confident than ever, and in my mind, he is definitely the man to beat. Teammate David Coulthard and Ferrari's Michael Schumacher are both capable of beating the Flying Finn, but they need to do so consistently in order to challenge for the championship. Jenson Button, Nick Heidfeld and Gaston Mazzacane are all starting their Formula One careers here in Australia. The new kids on the block will be keen to impress both experienced drivers and Formula One fans the world over. Well, that covers the drivers. Let's take a quick look at the constructors next. Ferrari are looking forward to another year at the very top of Formula One. Two-time world champion Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello have been raving about the all-new F2000, whilst team boss Jean Todt remains studious as ever. McLaren are likely to be Ferrari's main rivals. Team manager Ron Dennis has stated publicly his intention to regain the title lost to Ferrari last season. Elsewhere, Jaguar are looking forward to their first ever start in Formula One. Ferrari outcast Eddie Irvine and Johnny Herbert will be hoping for great things from the brand new R1. Located in downtown Melbourne, the spectacular Albert Park circuit combines several short straights with fast, sweeping turns. Unlike most street circuits, there is not a single 90-degree turn or hairpin in sight. I hate to quote the marketing pundits, but this venue really is a great place for the race.
And here we are once again in Australia for the start of the 2000 Formula One season. And for our first race, I think I'll take it a little easy to get a feel for the car and how it handles. I'm not really planning to score points today, but if we do, well, that will be a plus. So we've joined Jaguar in the second seat for this season, replacing Johnny Herbert, with Eddie Irvine occupying the first seat. I'm expecting a very exciting season and hopefully we'll do well, although I don't think we'll do as well as in the last season, but we shall see how things turn out. After all, this is the first race of the season, so it is too early to make any predictions. But my overall goal is to try and repeat last season's success. Anyway, let us see how we perform in qualifying for now. So, coming around for our first qualifying lap, I had a chance to get a vague impression of how the car feels. However, at the moment I don't feel too confident to push hard, therefore my lap times will be a bit slow. And so, we crossed the line with a time of 1 minute 36.117 seconds, which places us in 20th for now. As I said, I'm not too confident about the car yet, but I'm sure it will come with time. But now, as the qualifying session comes to a close, I went out with the intent to go a bit faster. I tried to push as hard as I could, however, we crossed the line with a time of 1 minute 36.381 seconds, 2 tenths slower than the previous one. And this drops us down to 22nd for the race. See you on the grid.
Hello there. Welcome to Australia for the opening round of the 2000 FIA Formula One World Championship. The weather, as so often is the case here, is just wonderful. Over 30 degrees and climbing. It's a fantastic day for Formula One. Mika Hakkinen, first. Coulthard, second. Michael Schumacher, third. Jenson Button, fourth. Rubens Barrichello, fifth. Jacques Villeneuve, sixth. Ralf Schumacher, seventh. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, eighth. Jos Verstappen, ninth. Giancarlo Fisichella, 10th. Irvine was consistently faster than his teammate. He starts 11th. Heidfeld, 12th. Jarno Trulli, 13th. Ricardo Zonta, 14th. Wirtz, 15th. Salo, 16th. Pedro Diniz, 17th. Jean Alesi, 18th. Pedro de la Rosa, 19th. Marc Genet, 20th. Mazzacane, 21st. The Jaguar driver, 22nd.
And here we are now on the grid, ready to start off this race and the new season. We've got quite a tough competition, but we'll try to push as hard as possible and see how we perform today. And we're off. And as always, I start slow, but let us see if we can make up a couple of places into turn 1. We pass Mazzacane. Next up we have De La Rosa as we slow down for this first corner. I get in front of De La Rosa, but as he doesn't have any car right in front of him, he retakes the position. But since we are on the first lap, we will still have the possibility to pass a few cars. I try again to pass De La Rosa on the inside, but we almost make contact, so I let up a bit. But there's an accident ahead of us which allows us to get right through past De La Rosa, Diniz, Genet, and Salo. So here we have the start of the race. Everyone pulls away and I get in front of Mazzacane despite a slow start. We have De La Rosa in front, Diniz in front of him, Genet in front of Diniz, and Salo in front of Genet. And we're now riding with Genet to take a look at the accident, as Zonta clips the rear of Salo's car, sending him into a spin, after which Genet drives straight into Salo. Here's a view from Salo's rear wing. We can see Zonta and Genet behind, as the two make contact and Salo loses control of his car, after which Genet hits Salo, breaking his rear wing. So that puts Salo out of the race, while Zonta and Genet will have to pit to change their front wings. Meanwhile, we got ahead of Zonta, who was struggling with his car, and so we are now up in 18th, and ahead of us we have Jean Alesi at around 3 seconds. So we shall try and catch up to him and then we'll try to pass him. So a pretty wild start to the 2000 season. Just the first lap and we already had a major incident. If this goes on, we might not even have to try and pass other cars. They will just take each other out. But if you can remember, in the real race, more than half the field retired before the end, with only 9 cars left running. Hopefully, we won't have that here. So, Alesi managed to increase the gap between us, therefore, we need to push. Perhaps he'll make a mistake which would play into our favor. However, this is Jean Alesi we are talking about, and that might not be the case. He actually used to be a very good driver in my opinion, especially during his time at Ferrari, despite the Ferrari not being a very reliable car at that time. But now, Pedro de la Rosa is having problems with his car. And here we can see de la Rosa with the Sauber of, I believe, Diniz in front of him, comes to turn 1 and stops his car, making him the second retirement of the race thus far. I'm still chasing down Jean Alesi as I go off slightly onto the grass. The gap between myself and Alesi has decreased slightly. I am now 2.9 seconds behind. That's around 3/10 of a second closer than before, which is not all that much. And there we can see him as he's coming out of the chicane. So let's try and catch up. On lap 3, we close in the gap to around 1.5 seconds. So we are in fact getting closer, as Coulthard is having problems with his engine. So let's take a look at David Coulthard. Here he is leading the race, which makes it that much more unfortunate for him. He's probably not going to be happy about this. And now we can see flames coming from the back of the McLaren. He pulls over, stops the car and retires from the race, which puts us into P15 and we're now just half a second behind Alesi, so we need to see if we can cause him to make a mistake and get in front. However, he probably won't make it easy for us. But who would? It wouldn't be called racing if everyone would just let you go past, would it? No, it wouldn't. It would be called, please pass me because I'm slower than you, or something like that. Lap 4 and we are still chasing Lacey around. Just 4 tenths of a second behind him now. So let's keep pushing and hope for the best as Verstappen is having suspension problems. He was doing quite well until now and had a decent qualifying, and we catch a glimpse of him just off to our left. We are now riding with just Verstappen. Around halfway through the lap, he pulls over to the side of the track, quite violently I must say, as a bunch of cars pass him, and he cannot do anything about them. And now coming into the frame, Lacey and myself. So that moves us up one position. And now Lacey is pulling away again, but we need to try and pass him before our pit stop. So let's see how we can go about achieving that. As I go very wide through the corner, losing a bit of time. This is not what we need, especially since Deniz is starting to catch up to us from behind. On lap 4, we catch back up to Lacey and we're now 3 tenths of a second behind. I take a look at the inside, but he shuts the door, as now Hakkinen is having engine problems. I'm sure Ron Dennis is going to have a chat with the guys over at Mercedes. And we're now riding with Hakkinen, who is fighting Schumacher for first place. And we can see the gap is quite small, probably around 3 tenths of a second. But Mika Hakkinen's engine fails, which puts him out of contention, and Schumacher should feel relieved now. And that is the second McLaren out of the race. The retirements thus far are as follows: Salo, De La Rosa, Coulthard, Verstappen, and Mika Hakkinen. And Hakkinen's retirement moves us up one more spot, but we still have to pass Alesi, who we have been following since lap 2. This is lap 6 and we still haven't managed to overtake Alesi. And again I go wide through the corner. And now Deniz is just 2 seconds behind, which poses a threat. Let's get our act together or else he might indeed overtake us. Lap 7 and Alesi managed to increase the gap to around 2 seconds now, whilst Diniz is around where he was at the end of the previous lap. And again I made a mistake. I can really feel the pressure now, which is causing me to make all these mistakes. I need to stay focused, or risk being overtaken by Pedro Diniz. But at the end of lap 7, we have to come in for fuel and tires, as Alesi is having gearbox problems, which is good news for us, but it's kind of a shame because we had quite a good battle. Now, let's see for how long we'll be stationary. The quicker the stop, the quicker we'll be able to rejoin the track. And we are now once again moving, and that was a stop of around 13 seconds. And it looks like we'll rejoin behind Deniz in P14. However, he still needs to make a stop, so we should be able to pass him then. But we have to close in the gap a bit for that to work. Just a couple of seconds should do it. So let's keep pushing. Funny, I remember saying that I will be taking it easy. Near the end of lap 8, Deniz manages to get ahead of Alesi, who had to come in due to his failing gearbox. And again I go wide through that corner. This is unreal. Am I pushing too hard? I probably am. At the end of lap 9, we managed to pass Deniz, who was pitting, placing us up into 13th. So we need to catch up to Fisichella now. And another engine failure, this time that of Trulli. There we can see Jarno Trulli with Birds in front and Barrichello behind. They come around through the fast left-right chicane, smoke pouring out of Trulli's car. He pulls to the side and retires. So that moves us up into 12th. This is starting to become very similar to the real 2000 Australian Grand Prix. So the retirements are Salo, De La Rosa, Coulthard, Verstappen, Hakkinen, Alesi, and Trulli, and we are now 21 seconds behind Fisichella and around 9.5 seconds ahead of Zonta, as Button is having engine problems. That is a lot of engines in just one race. I hope this won't continue on throughout the season. Now, riding with Button with a huge trail of flames and smoke coming from the back of his car, as he comes around to complete lap 9 and start lap 10. But he will have to retire, giving us one more free spot. Actually, that's two, because Wirtz has also retired. And we're now looking at Alexander Wirtz as he's coming into the pits. So let's see if we can find out what happened. It looks like one of the Prosts hit him just as he comes in to refuel. Perhaps that was part of the reason. By the way, I don't like the fact that the pit crew isn't rendered in this view. I don't think it would have been a hard thing to do, but maybe I didn't think that someone would use this camera to look at the pit stops. So, with Bert out of the race, we move up into 10th place. Not a bad start to the season, but I would have liked to gain those positions through racing and not through retirement. Oh well, better luck next time, right? On lap 13, we are 22 seconds behind teammate Irvine and 33 seconds ahead of Zonta, and with just one more lap remaining, we'll have to settle for 8th. We've gained 8 through 2 more retirements due to gearbox issues. So now, coming through the final 2 corners of this race, we finish in 8th with just 10 out of the 22 cars still left. On the screen you will see the finishes on the left and the retirements on the right. Feel free to pause the video if you so desire. So, no points for us today, but there's always next time. Perhaps next week in Brazil.
Well, that's the end of a fantastic Australian Grand Prix. Here are the final results. Schumacher first. Barrichello second. Heidfeld third. Villeneuve fourth. Schumacher fifth. Giancarlo Fisichella sixth. The Jaguar driver eighth. With the results confirmed, it's high time we updated the Drivers' Championship. Michael Schumacher takes over the lead in the Drivers' Championship.
So, Michael Schumacher scores his first 10 points of the season, placing him in the lead of the driver's standings, with teammate Rubens Barrichello in second. Nick Heidfeld is third in our championship instead of Ralf Schumacher. Jacques Villeneuve is fourth, just like in the real race. Ralf Schumacher is fifth in our case, position that was held by Giancarlo Fisichella, who in our case holds sixth, instead of Ricardo Zonta, who is ninth in our case. Teammate Irvine is seventh, and we are eighth.
Ferrari step up into first position to lead the Constructors' Championship. Prost are second, followed by the third place BAR.
So, Ferrari scored 16 points with a wonderful 1-2 finish here in Australia, just as they did in real life. Prost are second with 4 points instead of Williams. BAR are third with 3 points just like in real life. Williams are fourth with 2 points in our championship, and in fifth we have Benetton with a single point. So, a pretty good start for us. Not so good for McLaren, with both Hakkinen and Coulthard retiring early on. A very good start for Ferrari though, but that was to be expected really. Overall, I'm pretty happy with our result today, and with any luck we might be able to go one better next week in Brazil. So I hope you like the new video format. It's not a huge departure from what we're used to, but there are a few minor changes. Also, please let me know if you like this longer video or if I should revert back to keeping them under 15 minutes. Anyway, next week we'll be heading to Brazil for the second round of the season, where we'll try and do a bit better than today. And hopefully our finishing position will be decided by overtaking and not by retirement. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp.